How's everybody doing tonight? Elon Musk and Doge are firing 15,000 IRS employees literally this week and next week. And I want to talk about that today because I think a lot of people are looking at this like, why is this happening? Right? Like, why are they doing these things? Right. And so I'm going to show you guys, or not even show, but just read from a New York Times article that talks more in depth about this. But the article says that the IRS will begin laying off roughly 6,000 employees on Thursday as part of the Trump administration's push to downsize the federal workforce. Determinations will target relatively recent hires at the IRS, which the Biden administration had attempted to revitalize with a surge of funding and new staff. So, if y'all remember, there was a lot of talk about Biden and his presidency hiring a bunch of people to work in the IRS. I think they at one point they hired like 50,000 people or something like that, right? Some strange number. So now that Trump is president, him and Elon Musk are like, no, let's erase all that. Let's get rid of a lot of these people, and they're getting rid of people during tax season, which is interesting because we know that for those of us who try to call the IRS or who try to communicate with the IRS, that getting through on the phone, how long have you had to stay on the phone in order to speak to somebody? For some of us, maybe hours, and then you get on and then you talk to them for a little bit and they hang up on you. You got to call back, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. And for those of you who are just tuning in and didn't catch this live, make sure you type replay in the comments so I can acknowledge you and know that you showed up. But this is a big thing because, as we know, working with the IRS, talking to them, calling them is a chore, right? For those of you who have ever had to call and speak to them, you can speak to one person and they'll tell you one thing, and then you call back an hour later and you speak to someone else and it's a totally different story. And a lot of times you're speaking to people that have no history or any knowledge of a lot of this stuff. Like they're new people that have been hired and they're being trained on the spot, and they don't really know too much about what all goes on within the IRS. And so a lot of that leads to a lot of misleading information. And so with Trump and Elon Musk saying we're going to downsize the IRS, it'll be interesting to see how that impacts us as taxpayers in this country, right? When I look at it, I would think with less IRS auditors, that means less audits potentially, or less field audits, right? Because they'll still be able to do the audits where they send you a notice, a CP 2000 by mail, and you will be audited that way. But actually speaking to people and working with IRS agents, I could see that being downsized. And I could also see a situation where you have the IRS agents who are left to work with even more cases than what they already are working on their plate. So this is going to be interesting because if you have less IRS agents, that would mean that you potentially would be able to collect less taxpayer money through audits and other measures. So that would impact how much money that the IRS could potentially generate from the public. But another way to look at this too is that having less IRS agents might even mean that you have less people to audit the people that have the money, the wealthy, right? And so now we understand, all of us who are accountants or CPAs, that a lot of people that get audited that aren't the wealthy, that tend to be lower income or middle class, those audits normally happen through these letters, these CP 2000s, like I said earlier, or these other letters that are sent to you because they run your tax return through their software, their system, and they compare it to what they, on average, what normally is reported. And when the system sees any inefficiencies, they now send you an IRS audit letter for you to go through an audit. If you've ever been through an IRS audit, let me know in the comments section. Because as we all know, those of us who have ever been through an audit, or we have ever helped support someone through an audit, these things are pretty lengthy. So having less IRS agents might impact that to where now, if you ever do get audited, the actual process will take even longer because there's less people in the IRS. And then on top of that, just so many other things, as far as like I said earlier, calling the IRS and getting through, talking to people who are competent and know what they're doing, just having people who are on the field and are making things happen within the IRS. So, we talked about DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, and that is a new, I guess, governing body within the government that Elon Musk and Trump put together. And the whole point of DOGE is to pretty much make the government more efficient, right? So now they're going through the government and they're looking at different positions, different roles, and they're saying, if this is a role that is redundant, we are going to do what? We're going to lay people off. We are going to now have less people in the government. And I saw a report earlier today, actually, that if you go on their website, they have said things as if, I think something along the lines of, DOGE has effectively helped save $5 billion by all the government cuts that they've done. And the way they got that number, obviously, is they take whatever cuts that they've made and then they multiply that out over 12 months. And so now the annual number that they've hopefully saved is what they're saying is 5 billion. And then I even saw reports that because of all these savings, their goal is that in 2026 or 2027 to give every American household $5,000 of a refund or something like that. So it's just a lot of stuff going on. I see some of the comments. Jeremiah, what's going on? Jeremiah said, big deal. The legacy CPA, how are you? Favorite CPA, I appreciate that. But yes. And Finance Fave, how are you? But yeah, for those of you who have heard about this, what's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on what Elon Musk and President Trump are doing with DOGE, with the IRS cuts, with just any executive order that they've put out, right? In the article that I read from the New York Times, they said because of the executive orders, a lot of the higher ups have started to go to IRS employees and have said, hey, we need you to turn in all your government, your badge, your work equipment, all these things. And that literally started today. And I think even tomorrow, a lot of that's going to be happening. So they've sent that order down. And I think before the end of the week, we're going to see about 6,700 layoffs. And then I would assume even more next week as well. So it's a big deal. There's a lot of people that are in the government that are losing their ability to work, right? So now they got to go figure out other ways to make money for their families. So whenever layoffs happen, obviously it's a big ripple effect. And it's a big deal, right? So if you know anybody in the government that has been laid off recently or know someone that has been laid off, let me know in the comment section as well. It's interesting. Hopefully all this plays out well, hopefully what they're trying to do, hopefully is accomplished, and it's not that big of a ripple effect for the economy like it might potentially could be. So this is interesting. It's interesting to see what's going on, and we will see what comes out of this. Let me see. And then we got, Jolu, what's going on? Jolu said hola. But yes, let me know your thoughts. We're definitely, you know what? I think tomorrow we're going to talk about some other things that happened within the government recently. I'm definitely probably come on tomorrow night. If you're watching this on replay, like I said earlier, make sure you type replay. Let me know your thoughts on all this. And if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel at Ephraim CPA, make sure you do that as well. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night.